It's time for the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Powerful and liberating business strategies you can start in 5 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, Dean Soto.
Hey, this is Dean Soto with freedomin5minutes.com, and we're here again with another Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode. Today's topic is this. You can consult franchises into creating great systems. That and more coming up. All right, so welcome to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. My name is Dean Soto, which I've already introduced, but I am super excited today to have on the show a longtime friend and one of my business mentors, someone who helped me in two journeys. One, becoming an entrepreneur, and two, getting some pretty amazing systems experience under my belt. And I probably would not be where I am today. In fact, I know I wouldn't be where I am today right now if it wasn't for this particular person. So this person is named Paul Tran. He is one of the, I'm not even going to say one of the, he is the best salesman I have ever met, by far, my mentor, and is extremely, extremely good in the restaurant, fast casual restaurant, kind of systemizing and franchising area with he does a lot of consulting and all this other stuff, which I'll let him talk about in just a little bit. But Paul, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's so nice to have you, my friend.
It's my absolute pleasure. And again, I feel horrible because you've been telling me to get on a podcast for years, even before like anybody knew what a podcast was. So you're definitely a pioneer. And I'm sorry, I was a little bit insecure about, having my live voice being publicized, but I realized later that, after you've been pushing me, I realized, I want to be able to add impact and value to the world, and what better way than to do it with a friend and to do it with your audience. So thanks, man.
I love it.
Thanks for not giving up on me.
I never give up on you. You never give up on me, man. Oh, that's cool. So I kind of gave a little bit of hors d'oeuvres, a little bit of an introduction of who you are, but kind of give from the very get-go of gosh, even just when we met, before we met, and so on, and to where you are now, kind of give an introduction of who you are and what you've done over, I would just the past few years.
Sure. I've been in the restaurant and franchise industry for about 12 years. It all started with a crazy idea to start a restaurant with no cooking experience, no money, I guess nothing that you would normally come in fully prepared for. And I guess there's something cool about being naive about the business, because when you don't know it can't be done, then you just push through conventional, like, oh, you can't do that. But I mean, we can definitely get into more detail if you'd like, but pretty much fast forward a couple of years later, I sold my business. I sold my restaurant that I ran for 3 years. I got an offer to be bought out for multiple times what we put into it, which is great. And I also worked for the largest franchise development company in the world, and that's FranSmart. They're based in DC and Irvine, which is kind of during the time where you and I met. While I was helping a portfolio of restaurant chains grow from, mere 1 unit, 2 unit, or mom and pop, couple of units, couple corporate stores, consulting and connecting these brands with systems and manuals and the right franchisees and a lot of other things that help, change the mindset and the composition of a mom and pop shop to a globally recognized brand. During that time, of course, I was heavily in the networking circles. I also, cared a lot about, doing nonprofit work. And that was during the time where, Twitter was just super on fire, and everybody was using it to have a conversation, connect with people that they otherwise wouldn't have, and initiatives are able to be carried out with a group of people without barriers. And you and I, we just, I don't know how we found each other, to be honest. I just think through mutual Twitter friends, but I think we all just share this idea about, hey, there's a lot of people who are networking, going to these networking events, trying to build their own businesses. Why not add an element of giving back to people? There are a lot of like nonprofit initiatives that don't get enough of a voice. The American Heart Association and all these other massively budgeted nonprofits get a lot of love and they get a lot of TV time. What about these small organizations that make just as much impact, if not more, like direct impact? And how come they don't get any voice? So we just partnered up with a lot of nonprofit organizations locally. For example, I think we did one for Share Ourselves, where we had people help homeless people get into a temporary hotel room situation until they figure out what they can do to sustainably get them back on their feet. You and I, we planned, along with all of our other friends, Neil and Debbie and all that. We just held networking events where people would donate money and also be able to promote their business at the same time. Like do good by doing well by doing good, I guess. So that's pretty much how we met.
Yeah, that was so cool. It was awesome. I still remember Connect-OC when we did when we had Nitro from American Gladiators there.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is so cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was powerful, man. That was powerful. But yeah, we definitely one of the things that you were so open with social media, and we ended up connecting and everything like that through that. And then ultimately I, at the time, started actually working with you, where you were mentoring me on the franchise side of franchise development and how franchises worked anyway, and all this other stuff when it came to building out all of these exclusive territory type franchises. And so with that experience, what have you seen? I'm just gonna kind of jump right into kind of success because you've seen with all the development, you've seen what's worked and what's not with restaurant businesses, they have extremely tight margins. And so when it translates to other businesses, it is actually easier for a lot of other businesses because they don't have as tight margins. So what has been some of the big success factors in growing a franchise and actually having someone be successful in a business like that?
Sure. And I always make this joke where every time I hear a friend, they have a different business and they share what they do, and they're also really generous in sharing what their margins are. I'm always like, man, I'm in the wrong business, and I've been in the wrong business for 12 years. But I'm just kidding. I think that I think I'm in the business because, of course, I love food, and another thing is like, razor thin margins, challenge accepted. But I think as far as keys to success with restaurants is, I think the first thing is you need to know that, whereas a lot of companies can be wasteful or can give a lot of slack to costs here and there, you do need to know that it's a penny's business, and you need to be able to be meticulous and vigilant about cutting costs in everywhere that's appropriate. And because there's 1,000 things that you can cut costs on in order to make the margins. And you also need to rely on not just cutting costs, but more importantly, generating the revenue. Because McDonald's, sometimes you wonder how could they sell $1 cheeseburgers in a market that's, the inflation and all the other costs of doing business are growing. They're not going down. And it's all about volume. You need to get a lot of people through the door. And so it's a balance of making sure you cut costs, but also making sure that, you're constantly reaching out to the community, finding ways to get customers into the doors. And I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And also, you know, it's not just that, but also cutting costs where it matters and being a little bit more, not reckless, but being a little more loose on certain costs. For example, if you really think that customers, think about this, customers who come through your door, even though you think they're paying just $10 for example, one of my restaurants, the Halal Guys, they're paying just $10 for a platter. Think about this, like we have customers that come 2-3 times a week, and that's, you know, that's over 10 times a month.
Yeah.
And I did the math, and over time, like these customers are worth like $25,000.
Wow.
So if, you know, you don't want to be cheap with your loyal repeat customers. Like if their order isn't right, or if you use a loyalty program where you find out that you have VIP customers, like you can like treat them. You can take very good care of them. You can throw a little bit of caution to the wind because they're the ones that are going to sustain your business. Like what is a $10 platter if you're getting $25,000 in return? And so it's the long game on that one.
Yeah.
The margins are small, but it's the long game.
That's cool. That's awesome to hear. Cause yeah, that's that's interesting. I remember telling you, it was not too long ago. I was with Oliver. He was consulting with somebody in Tustin, and I went down. I was actually down in that area. I think I even saw you when I was down there. But anyway, I went to one of your competitors, a different ice cream place that had this franchisee who we literally were there for like 20 minutes, man, just waiting for our ice cream. And there was like there was probably 3 people in like who had ordered, and this franchisee was literally having the staff member, the 18-year-old kid, measure out and weigh how many sprinkles they were putting in to the ice cream. And no joke, it was where if it was even a hair off of what it should be, they were taking it out, putting it back in, taking it out, putting it back in. And I'm sitting there going, you got to be kidding me. Really? Like you're literally going to lose a customer. Like I will never go back there ever over 3 sprinkles because it's 1 milligram over what it should be. That's like what's the cost to the customer experience when you do that, right? Yep.
Well, I'm going to back up and say you and I are going to talk offline about you going to my competitor. That's a sore subject still, but I'm just kidding. But
so like that being said, so you have Halal Guys as one of your brands that you're a franchisee of. What other brands do you also have?
Yeah. So my partners and I, we have 12 Halal Guys stores, restaurants across Southern California. We're all continuing to build more. We have most of our stores concentrated in LA County and Orange County, and we're going to be venturing into San Diego County this year, so that's pretty exciting. I also own 2 Cauldron ice cream stores, which it's funny because both of these clients, it's a story of insider trading and double dipping, because both these brands that I'm a franchisee of, I initially was their consultant. I helped turn them into a franchise first as a client consultant type basis, and then I turned back around and said, "Hey, I actually want to be a part of this more than just from a consulting standpoint." And so I built the team, I paid the franchise fees, and opened stores for them as well. So whatever money they paid me in terms of consulting, I turned it back to them in royalties, and it's been a good relationship.
That's cool. It's like so you basically go in there, you make sure that they're successful, and then when they're successful, you're like, yeah, okay, now I'll be a franchisee for you.
Yeah, I knew all the. I joke around and say that's the legal insider trading.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, let's talk. So about your consulting then. What are some of the things? Like, so for example, like with I don't want it to be about specific because there's probably like proprietary stuff, but what are some of the things you see as a consultant that with your brands right now that either lead to success or that don't lead to success that you see?
Good question. So when I worked at FranceSmart, when I worked there, and also now that I'm on my own, I noticed that 100% of the time, my clients are, brands who are small, who do run it like a mom and pop, and they're not entirely sure how to get to the next level. You and I probably have a really deep conversation about this on, how is it that, McDonald's franchisees can open 20 stores and I can't even think about opening a second one.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it's a mindset shift. They need to learn to let go on a lot of core things, that a lot of things of the business that you don't need to be doing them. And you also need to systematize a lot of things. You can't possibly be doing payroll, can't do scheduling, you can't do the hiring, you can't do 1,000 different things that a restaurant requires you to do, because your head's going to spin. And yeah, of course you can't think about opening a second store because you think you're going to be doubling the workload. And so it's all about a mindset shift where I'm the owner. I need to be the CEO of the business. What that means is that I need to build corporate structure. I need to hire people that build a team. You can't do this on your own. It's like that concept of being, penny wise and pound foolish.
Yeah.
Like spend a little bit extra money to build the team, to put the systems in place. I had to be honest with you, for my Halal Guys chain of stores, we built 12 stores within a 5-year period. And there's no way I could have done that if I had not raised capital with friends and family and people who believed in what we're doing.
Yeah.
We couldn't do that without hiring district managers. We hired people who are already ready to be district managers.
Yeah.
So we hired them ahead of time. We knew that we're going to scale, so we built the bandwidth to scale.
Yeah.
And we already trained them and developed them to do a lot of the things that are critical to the business, where it allows us to focus being more strategic. And all that costs quite a bit of money, but guess what? It's either one store, and either you can make 100% of one store, or you can make a pretty nice. You can share the equity and the profits in order, over 10 stores, over 20 stores.
Yeah.
I think it's just mainly the mindset shift. I think a lot of the tools. I think there's no shortage of tools, systems and stuff, but it's all up to the business owner to change how they think first.
That's a great point. Is because
it's a matrix kind of thing, dude.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. Do you find that, because it's actually hard for me to even think the way that I used to think, I was definitely on the I want 100% of one business or one thing, do you find that once you've taken the red pill of okay, well, I know there's going to be a dip in profit, or I know there's going to be a dip in what I would see, but I'm building this to scale. Do you see that as is it hard for you to even think the original way now, where it's just of one? Do you find yourself thinking more in scaling, since this is what you've been doing for a while now?
It's always easier to give advice versus take your own advice. So, our business, has its ups and downs, and it's easy to get sucked back into we should cut costs in a big way. We need to cut this department. We need to cut labor tremendously, just because there's business cycles in our restaurant business. For example, during wintertime, after the New Year's, people have New Year's resolutions. They want to eat healthier. They also, blew all their money on Christmas, and our business is slow for the first couple months. And I'm human, and I have these knee-jerk reactions, and it's like, oh man, we got to cut costs. And again, I might end up being guilty of that same dude that was measuring 1 millimeter on and off during those times. So I get that way sometimes, but as each year goes by and we continue to grow, it becomes less and less so.
Wow.
Because it's, long-term thinking is manifested in like, wow, this year we have 13 stores. This year we have that many, and it's because I didn't focus on those insignificant, unnecessary things. So yeah, I fall victim to it too. But yeah,
well, that's cool. That's a very human response to that question. So with your consulting now, what do you find yourself doing the most with your consulting? It's so cool actually seeing you help brands to become really big. But what's kind of been the focus with your consulting lately?
Yeah. A lot of the consulting is still a lot of, small restaurant chains who are interested in franchising. They've received some inquiries from customers saying that they want to franchise. They just don't know how to do it. Most of them are so buried in their work that they, just for example, like stock trading or government compliance work. I mean, that's a full-time job. They just don't have the capacity to do it. So they're making money. They are seeing a lot of success. They're getting interest in inquiries for franchising. They don't have any systems in place, and they're just curious to know, where they should start. And there's no one size fits all strategy. And I think that's where the value of my consulting comes in. And there's also so much decentralized, like so much conflicting information on the internet. And there's a different strategy for retail. There's a different strategy for service franchises, and there's a different strategy for restaurants. And so all that stuff, I guess all that confusion makes me look a lot better as a consultant. But yeah, that's the reason why they come to me. I mean, a lot of times maybe they have done an amazing job with building a sexy brand and they build a viral following, but now they don't know how to turn this into growth. Or they've gone through the, they're doing really well. They have a lot of customers through the door, but they're not making any money whatsoever. A lot of it is, they've been a franchise for a while and they've kind of just been floating, not growing up, not failing, and they just need to get out of this invisible barrier that they've been in. So many different reasons why I've been consulting, and it's fun. But it's all over the map.
That is awesome. It's cool because it seems like it's a different challenge depending on who it is, and each one has its own kind of solution to a lot of that. Like with all of that, what is kind of, I'm going to ask you the aha question. I always try and ask this to every person who's on the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. What has been the single most, whether it be for you or for one of the people that you consult for, the single biggest kind of 5-minute mindset shift or 5-minute thing, strategy, tactic, whatever, that has brought the most results for you or for people who you've actually consulted for?
That's a
loaded question.
That's a thought-provoking question. For me, I think there's a lot of aha moments. But you're asking about like for clients?
It could be for you or for clients. Something that where there was just something that is really a paradigm shift for you or for your clients, that once it happens, it puts them or it has put you on a trajectory to massive success.
Sure. This is going to be a little bit self-serving, but I think the biggest thing has been the introduction of virtual systems architects. And I know, this is what you do and this is what you specialize in. And I want this I want the audience to know this is completely as objective and unbiased as possible. But I think the game changer for me, and also the game changer for clients of mine, I think the biggest value is not my gift of gab or my ability to sell or anything, but it's mainly like the advice that, there is a better way to systematize your business, and there's a much better way to get work done without the assumed high cost of hiring good people to do it. One of the biggest things that you've done in my life, Dean, was to introduce virtual, back then virtual assistants, where I've had virtual assistants for probably 5-6 years now, and they've been able to make my company look a lot larger than it is. It's been able to get a lot more done, and not let me be the bottleneck. It's allowed me to enjoy my work a lot better too. I can enjoy with actually helping clients and actually giving advice. And as far as paperwork and administrative work is concerned, the stuff I really hate, they kind of go away because I do have a virtual assistant that takes care of it. They take a lot of the stuff away so that I can just do the thing that I think is the most strategic, valuable thing for myself and for clients. And it's funny, you and I felt like I've been keeping that a secret for about 5-6 years. Like I was kind of like, I don't want other people to know like how I get so much. Like people are like, how do you own so many restaurants and you do consulting and you travel? Like I kind of loved, it kind of stroked my ego that like they think it's all me. But that's definitely the selfish, short-sighted way of thinking. I think over the years, you and I just realized that, we can't be the only ones that need this. And so you and I, we've done some consulting gigs together. You've actually, you've been generous in coming down to help with client work as well. And my aha moment was also another client's aha moment, right? We consulted for some good friends and also a large chain that was growing very rapidly. But the pace of their growth, which the name, we can't disclose it, but at the pace that they were growing, like they were going to, multiply their labor big time. And our time like just an hour there, not 5 minutes, sorry. Well, they probably made the 5-minute decision.
They did.
But the time that we spent there made them realize that there is a better way. And you introduced helping them find virtual systems architects. And they love them so much. I believe they're going to be increasing their virtual systems architects.
They actually just got another one this week. They start. So they're extremely happy. And man, they're using them for hiring. They're using them for a whole bunch of different things. They're crazy when it comes to it, and they've expanded a lot since we first even talked with them, and that expansion is just going to continue to grow because they're not. The cool thing about them is like they can rely on these guys who are a fraction of the cost, right? And they get everything documented, and so now they have this new guy come in, and guess who's going to train the new guy? It's going to be the virtual systems architect that was there before. So they don't even have to do anything. It's cool that you brought that up because obviously it's a little self-serving over here too. But
but you and I, the reason why I love you, man, is because we're selling, we're selling to help. We wouldn't promote anything that we wouldn't believe in that we do ourselves. For example, I was working with Halal Guys and Cauldron Ice Cream, and I loved it so much I sold myself on it, and I did it. and these virtual systems architects have been so helpful to so many of our clients that it should be kept a secret, especially with minimum wages now in LA at like $13-15.
And that's base salary. That's base.
And I did research, if you do the cost to list the job, interview, the time it takes, training, developing. What if you lose that person? You got to do it again. All that stuff. You end up adding almost double the cost. Like for someone who's $15, like the cost of hiring, training, developing is like, and making space for in your store and paperwork, HR, you have to pay. Like there's so many things. Like as I say that, I'm like, wow, I'm sure business owners that are listening to your podcast, like, oh, I don't want to hire any more people. Like
Totally.
even if I'm growing, I don't want to deal with the hassle.
Yeah.
But hiring these people at a fraction, like you said, you don't pay any, you don't pay any of that training development stuff. And in fact, they take over so much more than people think virtual assistants take care of. Like, for example, you said, now you've been able to help my client, like hire people, conduct interviews, manage all the stores.
The actual virtual systems architect is doing the interview, which is crazy to think of. But, they had the system. They had the guy document how they wanted the scripts to be and how they wanted the systems to be and everything like that. And then, boom, the guy's doing it. It's crazy.
Great. And also, like my VSA, she does my bookkeeping as well. And I just did, out of curiosity, I did a quick search on bookkeepers. They're like $15 to $20,
mm-hmm.
and I don't pay nearly that much. And she doesn't just do that, but she helps me with sending client contracts. She now she helps with my restaurants as well. She helps them with scheduling, hiring, all the HR paperwork. And now she's going to start helping me with reaching out to the community for marketing purposes. So cool. Like it's paid. It's the work of like maybe 5 good people here in the U.S.
Oh, I love it.
Like it's incredible. I could talk about it for hours.
And well, maybe we'll have you back on and we'll talk about all the stuff you're doing with it. That's awesome, man. I love hearing it. So how can people find out more about Paul and what you're doing and have you as a consultant? Because I would imagine that you would even consult outside of restaurant franchises and stuff, because you have the systems experience, you have the growth and stuff like that experience. And so how can people find out more about you and what you're doing and how to reach you?
Oh, sure. I think the platform that I use most is LinkedIn for business purposes. So if you look it up, it's linkedin.com/in/Paul T. Tran. That'd probably be the best way to connect with me on a business level. If you want to know just what's going on in my life personally and just for fun, I'm pretty active on Instagram as well. So if you look up at Paul T. Tran on Instagram, that's definitely the way to go to.
He's always traveling. Like if you want to see like some crazy stuff, that he's always somewhere. I'm like, I'll go on Instagram and I'll see, oh, Paul's in Alaska right now with a polar bear. That's interesting. And I just saw him yesterday. What the heck? So you definitely got to go check him out. And yeah, he one of the best consultants that I know, and still is one of my mentors. So you are one of my mentors, man.
Oh, thanks, brother. It actually works both ways. I learned so much from you as well. And again, my aha moment's actually because of you. So I appreciate you so much, more than you know.
Oh, likewise. Cool. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. Guys, if you want to find out more about Paul, go and hit him up on LinkedIn. Go and hit him up at Instagram. So that is Paul T. Tran. So that is his username on both of those. Paul T. Tran, not Paul Tran, because that's somebody else. Paul T. Tran. Go check him out. If you want your business to start growing and just getting massively expand, definitely hit him up, talk with him. He is absolutely amazing when it comes to growing a business, especially with the branding and marketing and everything like that side of things as well. So go check that out. And as for now, we have reached the end of the podcast, but this does not mean that this is the last podcast. What's up?
I said, "Aw."
Yep. Sorry to disappoint you. You have to come back again. So that'll be a fun thing. We'll talk more about the virtual systems architects and stuff. But until then, everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. My name is Dean Soto, and we will check you out on the next Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Now, head over to www.freedomin5minutes.com and register for our free masterclass and discover how to start systemizing and automating your entire business 5 minutes at a time. We'll see you next time on the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.